Welcome everyone to another edition of Hardcore Wrestling Rants. I am your hardcore host, Rick Head, and I'm joined by the hardcore crew. First, he's the Lord Skelter himself, Joseph Knight. Joe, what's shaking?
Nothing much. Trying to figure out this weather. Had a great 4th of July. Hope everybody else did, for you true Americans out there.
God bless America. And of course, over at Lance Moss TV, we have the incomparable Lance Moss. Lance, what's up, buddy?
Not the damn humidity.
Well, you're down south, so unfortunately, you have to deal with that hot summer worse than we do.
That's all we drink.
I also want to give a quick shout out before we start to Mr. and Mrs. A over in BC Games and More, and they are in the YouTube, Facebook group section. They cover a lot of retro games. They give out gifts, do trivia, and much, much more. Again, BC Games and More. Well, we were talking before the show started about Money in the Bank and how there were a few good things and also there were some bad things that actually happened. I'm going to be honest. Overall, I thought it was a pretty decent pay-per-view, guys. One issue we're going to talk about a little bit later is some issues that Shotzi Blackheart made, but people talk about botches. I'm going to tell you, there was one botch I really like to see a lot more, Lance, was apparently there was one spot where Asuka fell, or it was Becky Lynch fell on top of Asuka, and Asuka kind of grabbed her, tits real quick, and I don't know what that was about. I don't know. That's kind of a sexual assault, unless you like it.
Okay, that actually happened Monday after their main event match on Raw.
Well, was it? Okay, I just saw the GIF, so I thought it was the same night.
What it was, okay, they both fell through a table, and Becky gave Asuka a squeeze on her wrist to make sure she was okay, and I think that was Asuka telling her she was okay.
Wow, so grabbing a tit, Joe, that's telling that it's okay. Is that I want to go to work with the WWE now if I can grab a woman's tit that's okay.
Yep, and actually, you guys, if you go to the HWR chat room on Facebook, in the Facebook group section, HWR chat room, you can actually see I posted that link full, and it's you can actually see it non-PG version. And you can see they're both laughing because when Becky honks on Asuka's side tit, you can see Asuka do the same thing on her. So it was like left and right. So it was actually, you could tell they both found it funny. They just enjoyed the. You know what? I think there are moments in wrestling when you can do a little rib, and just to have fun in the match. So
yeah.
And I think those were one of those things. I've seen professional wrestlers do it live, even in shows I've been in and I've managed at ringside. I've actually seen people do that just for, just to have that fun, that moment of fun where nobody can catch it. If you're a cameraman in the right position, or if you're a fan that can see it really clear, then you know. But in this case, it was a tit grab from around the world, and it was a moment where both girls, I think it was their way of saying, hey, you know what, are you okay? And it just happened to squeeze a boob, so the other person said, okay, I'm going to squeeze yours back.
Well, if I can interject real quick, that's when a wrestler takes a major hit, that's a new sign now, the squeeze. And in this case,
squeeze.
Yeah, and it was freshly squeezed. No takeaway from Orange Cassidy there. But you know what, we're going to move on with some of our other topics real quick. I want to start off with apparently Wardlow sat down and did a recent interview where he gave his thoughts about MJF, and this is what he said. We worked together for 3 years. He was the first 3 years of my career. He was a big part of my career. So if anyone is allowed to touch us on this subject, it probably should be me. But I'll say this. He's not a good person. He really is a piece of shit. It was not enjoyable working with him. He's putting me through more stress than anything. And his behavior inside the business and outside the business is unacceptable. But that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, Joe, you can look at this two ways. You can see there's just a kayfabe thing where they're gonna try to keep MJF somewhat relevant, or it's just Wardlow finally saying, you know what, fuck it, I gotta say what I have to say. What's your thoughts?
Honestly, I agree with what you just said. I think this was just a kayfabe thing. I think basically it was them going out of their way to say, hey, you know what? Here it is. This is the deal, and they're just building this up so it looks like a storyline. Because you know what? And we're going to talk about that on the other part of this subject, I'm sure, in a few. But honestly, nobody had any complaints from him. It was the work. If this was legit, it was the best AEW's locker room secret because nobody spilled this outside to the media. You didn't see Dave Meltzer getting hot tips about this. So I think personally, Rick, this was something that I think this was just kayfabe, just to build up more heat. Because if he does come back, he could be taking a break. Any wrestler would love to take a break. So he probably say, hey, I've been with this company from day one. I've done so many things. I want a break. And I think this is his version of a break.
That's a good point. Lance, it seemed to be funny that he's taking a break at the same time CM Punk takes his break, but we've already talked about that issue. So your thoughts on Wardlow's statements?
Well, okay. It's like this. They say the best gimmicks are when you take the actual personality and you rev it up a few. Let's face it, MJF plays a major asshole. So, and he does good at it. So, and I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, MJF is the nicest guy ever." So maybe he is an asshole.
Well, you know what? Time will tell. And again, still no word from MJF, whether it be from any of his social media. And again, AEW has yet to mention what's going on. So this really is probably one of the biggest questions of what's going on with MJF. And I'm sure that probably much Tony Khan is had that mindset. Moving forward, Shotzi Blackheart recently deleted her account. Some fans wanted Shotzi being fired after botching at the Women's Money in the Bank match. There were some bad spots, but there were also good spots. We were talking earlier that any wrestler, I don't care who you are, can botch. And whether you botch 2 or 3 times, even in ladder matches, Joe, or even specialty matches, botches will happen more often than not.
Well, especially when you have multi-people matches, when you have so many people in this one match, there is going to be a botch. This is not one-on-one. This is not tag team. This is not six-man. When you have so many people chaotically running around, and especially in a Money in the Bank scenario, they have to and I'm going to go out on the limb, and I'm going to say this. Every woman on this roster, except for the Elite, and the Elite, besides Becky Lynch, Charlotte, who else? The one that Sasha Banks was gone, Asuka. A lot of these girls are the Elite, and when you throw in these other girls who who need to go back for a year of training, like Liv Morgan, Shotzi, and all these other girls, you can only work with what you have. And sometimes botches are going to happen because everybody's timing is going to be off. She didn't I saw the match. She didn't do a bad match. Liv Morgan didn't do her part bad. It just botches happen. And if we want to talk botches, look at the Bella twins. They're the biggest botches, and Nia Jax. So, I think honestly, when you look at stuff like this, fans shouldn't get so down on her. You got to remember, if the fans keep getting down on a individual, either it's an actor, actress, a celebrity, sports person, like a professional wrestler or whatever, what happens is you're going to make that person go away. and then what you're left with is like barely enough to fill a king size bed. So be careful what you wish for, because you might have repeats of Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the next millennium.
And that's a good point. But you know what? She did continue to rant though before she deleted her Twitter account, and she pretty much short said that she's not a wrestling robot and things that could go wrong in ladder matches. But she also finished this by telling her haters to suck my big hairy mangoes. And I thought that was kind of interesting. But it was today, she went on Instagram, and her Twitter account is still deleted. And she said, want to let her fans know that she's okay. She revealed that she has a trying year in her personal life, and the haters on Twitter wasn't doing her any favors. And Lance, you know what? People on the internet can be really fucking vicious. We've seen a wrestler a couple of years back, and I forget her name, forgive me, who actually committed suicide. Say again?
Rotzi.
Okay. So, your thoughts on this whole situation?
Well, all right. First, in multi-man person matches, be it battle royals or Money in the Banks, accidents happen. It is what it is. But somebody botched a few times, that's no reason to call for their damn job. If they were, say, like Eva Marie, I understand calling for her damn job, but it just wasn't, she was having not such a good night.
Yeah, and again, I think overall, I like Shotzi. I really have, I've never seen any of her matches that I was like, oh my god, Jesus Christ, this woman needs to hang her boots up. There are plenty of other wrestlers I can say that before I can say that about Shotzi.
And luckily, a lot of them are gone and over in the YouTube channel. And again, folks, you can check us out on YouTube. It is Hardcore Wrestling Rants, and we have the Elite East Survivor, the Lower East Side Survivor himself, Skipper. Yo, Skipper, thanks for being part of the show.
Welcome,
Hope you
Skipper.
enjoy the rest of it.
Yeah.
And so another thing that fans are calling for, apparently, is Jim Ross's retirement. Now, Jim Ross, to me, in my opinion, is probably one of the best commentators in the past 30-plus years. And some of the fans are asking him to step down is because he's been making several mistakes on the mic. He once referred to Bryan Danielson as Daniel Bryan. And he also did the same thing with Claudio by calling him Cesaro. Now, you really want to talk about bad commentating? Go watch WWE and fucking listen to Michael Cole for a half hour. And I guarantee you'll be like, well, maybe people will double think that. Joe, right now, obviously, JR, he's getting up there in age. He's also dealing with, he's battling skin cancer at the moment.
Yep, and he's had Bell's palsy.
And Bell's palsy, who has had a lot of health issues along with his age. And he can still commentate like a lot of other, 10 times better than anybody on the WWE commentating team.
Absolutely. Now, here's a man who has been in many professional wrestling promotions, legit promotions from Mid-South, the UWF, WWF, WWE, and now here, and WCW. I mean, I forgot about them. He was there as well. And he has been the voice. And you want to talk about voices, there hasn't been really a voice in professional wrestling. When you think about voices, you think of Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, Jesse the Body. You think of oh god, I can't remember.
Iron Mike Tenay.
Yeah.
Iron Mike. Well, not really.
I thought he was a great commentator.
Well, yeah, you could think that. You do have Tony Schiavone. You have a couple other people in the Mid-South who are great commentators. Jim Ross has been in wrestling since the 80s and before that. So you picture, here's a guy who's not perfect. And this is one of the great things about AEW. They're not handing people a script. They're not telling these guys what to do and what to say. Here's the mic. Do what you're best at. Go out there. If you botch, you botch. It's not a big deal. And this is like the same thing we just finished saying with Shotzi. fans are this era of fans, and I gotta say this era of fans and this era of this generation of people are morons, literally fucking morons. Lance, hit them with the email, please.
That's joe@scolensdrum.com.
Thank you. Because they don't. If a person botches, God forbid, a person makes a mistake, let's run them out of town. Let's bring the pitchforks and torches. JR is a living legend. If he botches on I've called Brian Danielson and vice versa, back and forth. When I saw Claudio, did I call him Claudio when I first saw? I said, "Oh shit, it's Cesaro." It's normal, it's natural because you're used to these guys in another promotion. You're used to broadcasting them as who they are. No one is ever perfect. Vince McMahon was never perfect on the mic. Gorilla Monsoon, Bobby Heenan, all of these individuals have made mistakes. Does it call for them being removed because of his age? Absolutely not. I'd rather sit down and listen to JR and Tony Schiavone go over wrestling matches than listen to Michael Cole and the other jabronis they have in commentary over at WWE.
Absolutely. Lance, your thoughts?
Well, let's face it. Jim Ross is the Michael Jordan of commentary. And who, even when Jordan was about to retire, he could still play circles around any of these kids in the league at that time. So I understand about the age thing, but everybody else needs to up their game before he hangs up the hat.
Absolutely. I mean, I noticed even during Blood and Guts, Jim Ross was not in hand until late at the main event. And I'm sorry, like I said, Tony Schiavone, the Taz, and I forget the other commentator, Excalibur, is also a great commentating team. So I don't really think that Jim Ross, as much as I love him, and again, I'd like to see him for another 20, 30 years. But if he does hang up his boots in the next, hangs his hat up in the next X amount of years, I think that, it's a legend. He'll move on and he'll be seen as a legend.
Now, boss in the chat, Skipper says Ric Flair should retire for good. That's actually happening the day after SummerSlam this year.
Yeah, but you know what, though? He's one of those type of wrestlers that has to wrestle their last match, and their last match, and the last match. We've seen it before, time and again, with Terry Funk. Even Hulk Hogan tries to stay in the spotlight in some shape or form. But unfortunately, that day has come. So, and with Ric Flair's health issues that he had almost died last year or the year before. There was some scares.
He has a pacemaker.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can you imagine if he fucking flips or he does that dive and his pacemaker jerks a little bit? That man ain't getting back up. Ric Flair is a legend. The man has been in this business since the 70s. He became the Nature Boy in the old NWA and done some incredible matches. He was never the celebrity as Hulk Hogan, but if you want to rate wrestling, Ric Flair did it. But even though his matches were constantly just repeated moves, he was entertaining and his interviews. But there comes a point in time when you need to hang up your boots for good. The difference, I think, between Terry Funk and Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan, Terry Funk does it for the love of the business. I think he just loves going out there, wrestling with anybody, and then even if it's a young guy, he's done it and just put them over and just walked away. Hogan, he doesn't really need the wrestling. He can do other things like celebrity appearances because he is Hulk Hogan. Flair, the only reason he's doing these matches, and this is his last match, is for one thing and one thing only, alimony. Or maybe he needs more money for himself. But mostly I would say alimony.
Oh,
yeah.
He is. Terry Funk, I think he has the world record for most retirements.
Yeah, exactly. Moving on, Warner Discovery wants AEW to do more pay-per-views, and that's according to Dave Meltzer. But even if this is somewhat true, because Forbidden Door made quite a bit of money. They made like $5 million in just the pay-per-views alone. But they also have pay-per-views, I'll say 5, maybe 6 times a year, or even less. And Joe, you and I have said this time again how relieving that is, because we don't want to see a pay-per-view every other month or twice a month. Um, they have the specialty shows like they did last week, Blood and Guts. To me, that's kind of like a Saturday night's main event where you don't need that extra pay-per-view.
Absolutely. The problem with WWE is they want you to think every pay-per-view is grand, and they have to shove it down your throat every month. It's building content. But the problem is you're watching already the same matches on Raw and SmackDown. It's not like the old Saturday night's main event. It's not like at the time, the big four. You had Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. If they would have kept it at that, they could have built up the storyline so that's what they used to be. That's how great Vince was. He had you captivated enough to go to the pay-per-views. And when you did, this wasn't just like, it was a grand thing. Same thing for Saturday night's main event. Us in New York, if you had to stay up till 11:30 at night, wait on a Saturday night to see if Saturday Night Live was not on the channel, and if they put Saturday night's main event on it, you were sitting. I was sitting there breaking my curfew, sitting there watching wrestling. Because that was the biggest thing. You were watching
Absolutely.
Guys take each other. So now I think AEW stick with maybe 4 pay-per-views. Don't add more. Do a specialty show if you want, but do not add more pay-per-views. One is going to kill the audience's wallets.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's $60 a pay-per-view, and so far they haven't let me down. I did not buy Forbidden Door only because it was like the next month. I'm like, I am not doing that back to back. When they come on, they have Double or Nothing. They have All In, Full Gear, and I buy those and such, and others, 1 or 2 others, and it's worth my money. To do it every month, it's just gonna be a special. It's just another show. It'll become WWE slowly but surely, and I don't want that to happen. Lance, your thoughts?
Well, I agree. For maybe the 5th one, if they wanted to keep doing this AEW versus another company thing, yeah, okay. But I have a better idea of what they could do. Like, you know how they got these battle for the belts things, right? Add a second hour to that every once in a while to kind of pad out, because I personally think the battle for the belt specials aren't long enough.
That one I have to agree. Battle of Belts for an hour seems a bit rushed.
Yeah.
I think they should do a 2-hour event. But again, you know what? We're just the watchers. Unfortunately, we have very little say.
Because I can barely get through my food and barely get one drink in.
Oh, come on, Lance. We know how you chug those right down. Who are you kidding? All right.
You know what's funny?
Yeah,
what's funny is
I wasn't going to bring that up.
What's funny is originally Battle of the Belt was an old Florida pay-per-view, or not really pay-per-view. There was the old Florida giant events mixed with so many different talents from around the world, or around the United States, mostly from the NWA and other territories. Go up on YouTube, look up Battle for the Belts, and you'll see maybe 1, 2, 3, and you'll see stuff from the 80s. Great watch. If you're a fan of the Road Warriors, Ric Flair and all that, go check that out.
All right, moving along. Now, on his latest podcast, Hall of Famer Booker T talked about AEW originals are being pushed aside by ex-WWE wrestlers. Now, this is the first time I can say that Booker T spoke in light or in some time defense of the AEW talent. This is what he had to say in short. You see, the older guys are just coming over to AEW. They're the ones that are getting the titles. They're the ones that are getting the push. You know what I mean? Just like Darby Allin, Where has his position been since the older guys came on in? The reason why we haven't seen MJF for a while is the reason why no one has said his name. Okay, maybe it's because it's a work or it's not a work, but that's okay. It's because some of the other older guys that are upset the younger guys coming around and getting pushed over are getting pushed over the younger guys. So again, Joe, you and I talked about this over time and time and time again about how Tony Khan bringing in these stars and wanting to push them right over guys who was in AEW from day one, like Darby Allin, like Jungle Boy, and countless others. So I can't really know where to start with this.
And for once, Wilma Flintstone hairstyle Booker T finally, Chucky Ducky himself, finally made a point that's worth listening to. And this is something I've said for a long time. Every time you bring in a former WWE talent, you're going to create deception and division in the locker room because now these people are getting advanced pushes. Cesaro came in, went back to the Claudio Castagnoli, whatever the fuck your name is.
I can't pronounce the last name either, so don't feel bad,
Joe.
Joe.
He's some spaghetti sucker or something. Well, anyway, so what did he do? Get immediately a spot in between the Jericho Appreciation Society and the
Blackpool Combat Club,
BPS or BBC, club. It's unfair. These individuals are now jumping ahead of the pack, getting matches where it should be these other folks that should be getting matches. And what's going to happen, Rick, is all of these AEW originals are going to be shoved down to either Rampage or they're going to be shoved down to Dark and Elevation. I have not seen Abaddon in a main show for so long that I forgot she was there. But if you look at it, she's always on Dark, and she's okay with it. God bless her, she's okay with it. But
she's also dominating over there. She's getting more wins than losses.
Exactly. But the point is, these individuals have so much more to give. It's a shame that they don't use them more on main shows. And here comes Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, and trust me, folks, I understand if you run an independent company or you run any wrestling company, your biggest asset is you want to get eyeballs on your channel, on your show, and what you want to do is bring in talent because you want people to see your stuff. And how do you do that? By bringing in names. Oh, he's here. I can't wait. I understand that. But, Rick, it comes to a point, what are you sacrificing to do that? You are losing your original talent. And eventually, I'm going to go out on the limb and say, that's exactly what is going to happen. Well, they're going to rebel.
Well, we saw that over in Impact. And I know Impact had a lot of other issues. But at the end of the day, you had, those originals. You had Beer Money. You had AJ Styles, who pretty much was at the time the John Cena of that company.
Yeah.
He was the forefront. He won. He's like a two-time Grand Slam champion that nobody's ever done. You also had Samoa Joe and countless others. And what happened? They flocked to the WWE. I remember for a while, one of the biggest issues is they brought in Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Mick Foley for like millions of dollars that they didn't spend on their own talent. And I'm hoping that Tony Khan is not the mark that MJF is saying. I'm hoping that he has a brain in there somewhere and saying, this is my company. I need to make this company work. I still have ROH on the back burner, which I need to find out to get them on TV somehow, and they haven't. That's yet to be figured out.
Well, there just a bit about, I think, yesterday or the day before. If you look at my rumors, they actually are working on getting a streaming service or a network for Ring of Honor. So it's in the works. But the question is, how is that is that gonna benefit the other talent? Is that gonna be something that the AEW talent is gonna be able to? Are they gonna migrate over there because they're not being used? I think, you know what, Rick, when you look at it with the whole MJF scenario, this is playing into something big. I would not be surprised if Tony Khan was a smart businessman, he would say, you know what, let's build on this thing and have the former WWE talent grouped together under Steven Regal with the Blackpool Pity Pool Club, and you have MJF with the originals, and have the originals whip the shit out of the former WWE guys, and have the WWE guys drop to the bottom and have to work their way up. That way, everybody get to fish, and you start pushing more of these guys, the originals, because that's who is going to be your future. Cesaro's already what? How old is Cesaro? Like in his 40s, Lance?
Yeah.
So he's not going to be around longer. You know, you have Samoa Joe, even though he's Ring of Honor, he's not going to go for long. You've got CM Punk, who's probably here for another cup of coffee and a donut, and he's gone. Yeah, Daniel Bryan is not going to stay long because of his neck injury, and God forbid, let's hope he doesn't bring his wife to the shows. They need to stop bringing in these former talent. Granted, they're great talent, but from an era that's been gone. Cesaro still has it, but I think he would still have it, Rick, in Ring of Honor, not AEW.
I agree. I thought he should have gone to Ring of Honor. Lance, over to you. Your thoughts?
Well, I find this to be a little bit ironic because isn't that what Impact did? And Booker T is one of the guys they did it with.
Exactly. You know, he was a former WWE, WCW guy, so they brought him over. And they made him like the King Booker, and he made his own Legends title, which I thought, and they couldn't even figure out, you know.
It was a good-looking belt, but bad execution.
Yeah. I mean, they've changed it like the name like 3 or 4 times. I don't even know what the name of it is now anymore.
I don't think they even have it anymore. I think, what was it? It became the TNA television title at one time, and then it was like I said, I don't even remember most of it because it was a blur. Bad booking. Very bad booking. You know what? Rick, if you want to excuse me a moment, I want to throw a question to Lance.
Go ahead.
Lance is famous for knowing Memphis wrestling. Am I correct, Lance?
Well, yeah, I'm from here, so yeah.
Okay. See, that gives him an excuse to really know the business in Memphis. Your opinion, if they bring back Jerry Jarrett to Ring of Honor, to AEW, would he be able to fix the product? Or even Impact?
Impact, I don't think he would do it because that's a sore subject with him. But given the fact that Jerry Jarrett's booking philosophy is true or real life scenarios sell tickets, I think so.
And for you guys who don't know Jerry Jarrett, well, you know what, Lance? Go ahead. Take it away. Explain who Jerry Jarrett is.
Basically, the man that put, in the booking office, the man that put Memphis wrestling on the damn map.
The only negative side of him that he had a son named Jeff Jarrett.
Oh, yeah, we're not going to talk about him.
All right, back to you, Rick.
And also, Vince McMahon brought him, when in the steroid trial, Vince brought him up to the WWE to run the company while the trial was going on.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to move along here now, guys. Apparently, you know, UFC, I forget what it was, which number they were on, like 627 or 50,000, who knows. But regardless, the McMahon family and Triple H was on hand alongside, and Tony Khan, along and Jim Ross, were also at the scenario, so I'm sure they crossed paths. But even from the get-go, Tony Khan has always been optimistic about opening another forbidden door, and he wanted to work with the WWE. He said it in the past, and it's really one of those things that I don't really see it happening. I mean, this is what he said in his latest interview with Masked Man's show. I'm not sure it's going to happen just yet, but I'll be open to talking about that kind of thing. It's not a crazy but a bold prediction, sir. So one minute he says it might not happen, but he's saying it's also a bold prediction, Joe. Which one is he talking about?
I don't think he even knows. I think he is trying to, like any owner business, you want to try to promote your stuff as much as possible. And I think when he's put in the spot, Tony Khan doesn't know what he says. He's like Joe Biden. Joe Biden will tell you, marry for Father's Day, because he doesn't know what all his marbles are. You know, with Tony Khan, the guy has done wonders for the company. That's not taking nothing away from him, but he tends to run off and say things that maybe a person probably in the back saying, ew, why is he saying that? Vince McMahon or whoever owns the WWE, after all these trials and tribulations are over, I still wouldn't work with what they would consider a minor league company. Right now, Tony should not focus on anything. He should focus on his company. Right now, he owns two. He owns Ring of Honor, which he's trying to get a TV deal with, and he has AEW. AEW, since their inception, has been great for the wrestling business. Greater for your former WWE talent, because you can get a lot of money. It basically reminds me of WCW when they started bringing all the former WWF guys over. But nonetheless, they do have some great people there. Tony should not be flapping his gums about forbidden doors. He shouldn't be talking about other people. He shouldn't about a special announcement. No. Focus on your company. No more special announcements. Save them 3 times a year. Space them out. You know what? New title, new this, new that. You know, that's all you need to do. And trust that hopefully your creative can keep the company moving in the right direction. I have to, I go back to what MJF said and what Booker T says. You're bringing in too many former WWE guys. They're going to dominate the company, and that's going to become an issue later on. Him making bold statements of, I want to work with the WWE. Well, that's never going to happen. You know what? I'll tell you this real quick, Rick, before you pass it to Lance. Back in the 90s, there was a guy named Herb Abrams. If anybody knows wrestling, they know who Herb. Oh, God. Yes, thank you, Lance. He ran a reboot version of the Universal Wrestling Federation. Yes, Lance, thank you. And this was a guy who marched into a meeting with Vince McMahon and says, I want to help promote shows under the WWE banner with my guys. Look it up. It's not a statement. That's actually facts. And Vince McMahon laughed at him and said, no, get out of my office. And that's what started his war with Vince. And, well, we know what happened to poor Herb Abrams and the UWF. So I think he died in his underwear, didn't he, Lance?
From what I've heard, naked with boots on, with some whores and cocaine.
That's not bad.
Well, you know what? At least he died with a smile. Hope the whores was at least good looking. Liz, finally, your thoughts on Tony Khan thinking that somewhere down the road he's going to be working with WWE?
Not as long as Vin Man's alive. But I'm not saying it's impossible, but as long as Vince is still breathing, no. If he wants to do like a once a year show versus another company, pick either AAA, New Japan, Impact, ROH, NWA, CMLL. Get some more of those under your belt before you start going to somebody who does not think he has competition.
Exactly. And as you said it perfectly, Lance. There are plenty of other wrestling promotions that he can work with, and they can use the quote unquote forbidden door. I don't know if that's strictly for New Japan, but I like it. It's he's too optimistic. Hopefully, he needs to focus on AEW. Moving along, on this past Friday on Rampage, Brody King won what's called a two-ring Royal Rampage. Now, it's kind of a spin-off of a Royal Rumble, but it had two rings where 30 men would come in. But for each person who came out, they had to go to each opposite ring. There was a red ring and a blue ring. At the end of the day, there was Brody King and Darby Allin, who were the last two. But Brody King was the one who won, and now he's going to be facing Jon Moxley tonight for the interim AEW Championship. Now, I would like to think that Brody King has a shot at this, but Joe, I think what's really going to happen is they're going to keep that title on Jon Moxley until I almost said John Cena, until CM Punk returns and they have the fantasy match.
You know what? They're going to keep this on Moxley. It's too soon. He just won it. I think they're doing a great idea with incorporating as many talent to do like a number one contenders match. Honestly, I think this is a great, great concept. I just hope they keep going, but, Brody King to face Moxley, I would have preferred maybe Wardlow or Lance Archer or somebody else. But if you're gonna start with somebody, let's go with him. It's not my pick. I would have picked Malachi Black. At least that would have been a decent match. But let's see how this goes tonight. And I could see him possibly doing more work. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe they can do something with this. But Moxley's not going to lose that belt anytime soon.
I agree with you, but at least, like you said, it's we're getting other AEW wrestlers a shot, or indie wrestlers a shot, if you wish. Because Brody King, I don't think really did anything significant aside from I know he worked in other indie companies, but he never worked for WWE. So having this guy come in and get at least a title shot is pretty much something to be said. You never see that over in WWE. You would never see Roman Reigns go fight, Chad Gable, so to speak, or one of the younger, newer guys that just came out. And I'm not referring to that fucking whatever his name is.
Austin Theory.
Austin Theory. Thank you, Mr. A, as I guess they're calling him. But nevertheless, your thoughts. I already had thoughts. Lance, your thoughts on Brody King?
Yeah, I was going to say, pass it on to him.
That's Malachi Black's original second member of
Correct.
the House of Black, right?
Yes.
Well, okay. They're probably going to be a good match, but I think it's just a way for them to start polishing Moxley for the eventual Punk Mox match.
Yeah, and I hope in the future that there will be other championship like opportunities for other wrestlers.
Yeah.
I do like the one thing that AEW always has. They always have some kind of tournaments or battles or whatever for a number one contendership. Something that WWE never really does, and they really, except for maybe a Money in the Bank type thing or once in a blue moon. But nevertheless, we're going to move on. There are rumors now that Street Profits could be breaking up. And it looks like, guys, I think Montez Ford would probably be the guy who rises up. When a tag team splits, you can look all the way back to the Hart Foundation up to now. When a tag team breaks, one sinks to the bottom or is kind of like a mid-level wrestler, and the other one, starts winning titles. Now, if I had to pick, honestly, Montez Ford, I think he has it all. He's got the charisma, although it looks like he's on cocaine half the time. He has the wrestling skills, and you know what? It's just, I think Montez Ford, that's a name that I think WWE would honestly go with. I don't know about you, Joe.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? they don't have many tag teams as it is. You want to make the job really super easy for the Usos. You know, who they're going to put? Chad Gable and Jake the Milkman Milligan, whatever that fat dude's name is. You know, that's even if they're teaming. But I agree. Montez is the best person to move forward. He does have the charisma. He does have the abilities. He's the Booker T of this Harlem Heat. He is the Shawn Michaels out of the Rockers, the Bret Hart out of the Hart Foundation. You know, for this generation, he stands out. I picture a good feud with him in theory will be great because he is, you know, besides his little antics and all that stuff, he is a good worker. So, you know what? Let's just see where this goes. But honestly, I think if you're going to split the two up, that's who you want to keep. The other guy, he's goofy.
Angelo Dawkins.
Yeah, he's goofy. He's he reminds me of Stevie Ray. He brings the power of the Harlem Heat, but never did anything more. That was it. Montez put on some weight. If you guys saw Money in the Bank, he put on some weight, put on some more muscle.
They actually did mention that during the pay-per-view that he had actually gained 50 pounds of muscle.
Yep. There you go. And that's because he looks the part. They're getting them ready to make that push. So I think that's a good choice.
All right, Lance, over to you. Angelo Dawkins or Montez Ford, do you think they're going to split up? And who do you think's going to rise up?
Well, I'll put it like this. I have yet to see any cracks in the bond between these two, like on Raw or on SmackDown. So until then, I'll just say, like as long as we've been hearing about Dolph Ziggler wanting out of his contract for about the last decade, to me, Street Profits breaking up as of right now is just a rumor. But I do think if they ever do, like y'all have been saying, Montez Ford will probably be the breakout star.
Yeah, and again, that as Lance said, I want everyone who's listening, that is strictly a rumor, nothing more. And again, I think that there was also a rumor back in April that was going to happen because they had some weird storyline where Montez Ford was passing out and they were blaming, what's her name, Bianca Belair, who was his wife or girlfriend, was poisoning him. There was some kind of a storyline I read. I wasn't following WWE at the time that much because they sucked. But nevertheless, that has yet to happen. So all right, now guys, that's pretty much it for this edition of HWR. I don't know really what's going to be coming. I'm hoping for Dynamite tonight is going to be a great night. I hope. AEW, unfortunately, when it comes to Dynamite, they tend to have one or two great shows, and then they have a really bland or nothing to speak of show. And it looks like, Joe, I think for this week, they could be paid up for that one bad show, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know what? AEW does a bad show, and then they follow it up with a good show. Not every show is going to be 5 stars. You know, they have to do what they got to do. I think when they start bringing in AEW originals and younger talent, I think that's when it picks up, in my opinion. I think that, you know, they hit those bumps and they learn from it and they move forward. You know, I really want to see more of Sammy Guevara. I want to see more of Darby Allin. Jungle Boy, absolutely. The Luchasaurus, Lance Archer. I want to see Brian Cage come back. Here's another big man that just sitting at home collecting a paycheck, lucky guy. You know, I want to see those guys. If I want to see the former WWE guys, I'll rewind some of the stuff on the WWE network. So I think they just hit bumps, they learn from it, and they move on. So AEW, no matter how it is, it's still way better than WWE.
Absolutely, 100%. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want to thank the Pirate who came into our chat room. Also, please check us out in the Facebook group section. HWR chat room where we give our latest news and rumors. Tonight I will be covering AEW Dynamite. So for those of you who, for some reason or another, can't watch TNT, feel free to check up and we'll give you the latest updates. Joe, you're over at Skullduggan Realms. Tell everybody about it.
Absolutely. Everybody, you want to check me out at Skullduggan Realms? Just do the hashtag Skullduggan Realms. I am on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. I will be streaming possibly tonight, possibly a new version of Step by Daylight they have there, or one of the other retro games that I have. So make sure you check it out at Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, hashtag Skullduggan Realm. Also, if you're interested in AEW, excuse me, look at I'm saying AEW, HWR t-shirts like the Lance Moss shirt, the Rick Head shirt, the Zoe Knight shit panties, and my t-shirt. Make sure you go to.
Is that a G-string by any chance?
What's that?
Was that a G-string or just panties?
I don't know. I gotta wait to see because she keeps fighting not to give me any.
Oh, okay.
So, well, I'm hoping on it. We stamp her name on it. I heard she can autograph if you want. Just go to skullduggansrealm.live, hit the merch button, and look up all about t-shirts, and you can find them all there, and you guarantee we'll be doing us a service because we want your money.
And, of course, Lance, you're over at Lance Moss TV, and every Tuesday night you got to hang out with a bunch of your buddies. Tell everybody about it.
Yeah, me, Zoe, Steve, and whoever else just wants to show up. We hang out for an hour and a half, 2 hours, usually during NXT, which we put on a better show, but that's just not toot my own horn, but toot. And the guitar build, once it gets temperature-wise where it's not so damn dangerous to go out there, that will be coming back.
And there you have it. And again, check us out in the HWR chat room and Facebook group section. So, for the Hardcore Crew, I'm your hardcore host, Rick Head, saying we'll see ya when we see ya.
Buy the shirt or